Hi, thanks for joining me. My name's Jacqueline. I'm with Holistic Journey, and just so that you all know, my new intention for this channel is to do basically random, unscheduled channel downloads just regarding various spiritual topics and occult topics, healing topics, anything like that having to do with spirituality, the soul. Sorry for the cats. And I guess I like to do these kind of random. I'm probably not going to do anything super scheduled, like on a regular basis in that light, because when I get something kind of rolling through my head, a topic, and I'm thinking about it in the moment, it's better if I do the video right there, unless it's kind of a longer topic to address and maybe I want to put together some sort of presentation or anything like that for you guys. So my goal really is just to offer some enlightening information on this subject matter so that it can be readily available for those who prefer to try to embark on some sort of spiritual path in their life, those who want to live with integrating some sort of spiritual or occult practices, but maybe really don't know that much about it yet, haven't done a lot of investigation or discovery on their own, or maybe have had negative experiences, don't know what's behind those experiences, or maybe those who've had positive experiences and just want more insight. I do want to offer as both beginning knowledge, but also let my channel be a foundation for a lot of really deep, like deeper knowledge about spiritual topics that isn't usually found out on the internet, or things that I've learned through my experience as a spiritual healer doing alternative energy healing therapies and soul healing, AKASHIC record work, Reiki, different things of that nature, because I find that, as I continue to do my work experientially, I come across a lot of new realizations, and I'm like, wow, I never knew that before, kind of like maybe had a basic understanding or a basic gist of what something is, but then when you experience it for yourself, it's totally different, or maybe just adds to how I could teach it or tell other people about it so that you guys know what to expect out in the real world and in your own practice. So I hope that this channel can let people find a safe and knowledgeable way to expand spiritual practice in your own life as you seek fit for your own life. If something of what I say does not resonate with you, obviously, don't, take it or leave it. But this is based on my experience and from a couple of years now studying with a very well practiced spiritual teacher in the field of Akashic record work. And so that being said, that has been my study for the past 2 to 3 years, very, very, very intensively. And pretty much my only focus outside of my full-time job that I have currently, in hopes that, maybe one day I can, certainly transition into making alternative energy healing therapies, my full-time, what I do, because it's really what I love. So in any case, I wanted to start today by addressing the topic that happened to be on my mind just a bit ago that I was considering. And normally, I promise I won't have some long intro, but so the topic that I was thinking about is, will spiritual or occult work bring negative entities into my life? Because I feel like a lot of people are that shy away from doing any real spiritual work for themselves or with others, or coming up with any spiritual practice on their own, simply due to the fact that, there's not a lot of information out there. There's a lot of fears. Oh my gosh, what if I let some entity into my life and then I have a demon attached to me, and I have, portals open in my house, and, all of these bad things, and things start floating through my house, and poltergeists are throwing things everywhere. So there's these fears that we get out there that are kind of based a lot on Hollywood, expressions of those things for entertainment purposes. But, sorry, this is Tabitha, and the cat you see, wait, where? Here. This is Trip, because that's what he does best. He puts himself right under my feet, and I trip. So, anyway, his name is Trip. But basically, so I want to kind of bring a little clarity to this topic. So, because I do, in my spiritual work, I do spirit releasements, or, basically kind of entity extractions, exorcisms. I take entities out of people's personal space or workspace, or, cleansing energy around those things. I look at attachment mechanisms, how and why those entities are attached. And so, I've worked with several different types of entities, and I kind of know the book knowledge of a lot of additional entities that maybe I haven't quite encountered yet. So it makes for interesting work. So I do have some personal experience around, entities. But so when we are doing spiritual or occult work, basically I attribute this to making ourselves more visible to the entities that are already out there, because we're opening our world up. We're kind of shining our beacon out there in the other dimensions, in the other astral planes, like, hey, I'm calling out to you. It's kind of like if we're praying, and obviously when we pray, we want to make ourselves visible to angels, right? We want them to come, and we want them to pay attention to our needs and to help us through some form of crisis or turmoil or challenge. And so obviously we're trying to make ourselves more visible, right? Well, the same kind of thing can happen when we're doing any other form of spiritual work or occult work. There is the potentiality of making ourselves visible in those other astral realms. So, spirits are like, hey, come on, they're active over here doing this stuff, or using these divination tools, or, using these talismans, or, doing these rituals, or opening portal ways, or Ouija boards, or whatever, And so, this person's open to us coming in, right? And so really, those entities, they're already out there. If our physical world is a mirror of what's kind of going on in the spiritual, as above, so below, then basically, if there's so many billions of people on the earth, then we can assume that there's billions of spirits out there around us. We're never alone, right? And many people accept that we have spirit guides, or we have guardian angels, or maybe that we have deceased loved ones that are out there assisting us, right? And what we don't want, though, are the negative entities coming in and out. Well, obviously, grandma's not always going to be there, or, the spirit of grandma's not always going to be there, or, maybe we feel like we're out of touch with our spirit guides or our angels sometimes as we're going through hardships, and we think, man, what if there's a negative entity, right? And obviously, we want to do a lot, as we're doing our spiritual work, as we're doing prayer work, as we're doing any occult work, however it is that we're opening up channels of communication, we want to, or, inviting anything in, like with a Ouija board, say, or like magic circles or invocations, or evocations or anything like that. We want to do, a sanctifying of our space and really set the intention and speak what is allowed into our space, right? So just like if somebody came to my front door, I, might look through the little peephole and, might not let that person in. Maybe it's a salesperson, or maybe it's a strange man that I don't know, or maybe it's the neighborhood kids. I'm going to look through that peephole, and I'm going to see, okay, well, do I want to let this person in, or do I not want to let this person in? So I'm using that discernment. And it's the same thing when we're doing the spiritual or occult work. We know that we're opening ourselves up to these other astral planes, and in the process, there is that potential that something else can come knocking on the door. So we can also be bringing friends in, spiritual friends in. And, that's great when there are lots of very helpful and friendly entities that are out there for our benefit, whether it's to help with healing, or with the soul matrix, or the soul blueprint, or our guardian angels, those helpful messengers or guardians, or our spirit guides who bring different gifts and talents and help us build on those things in our life and help uphold energies and patterns in our life positively. So it's really just a matter of our own discernment of setting that intention. What do I want to let into my life or into that spiritual practice, and what do I not want to let into that spiritual practice? So because there are so many entities out there already, just, waiting for some channel of contact, essentially, I would basically, to answer the question, say that doing spiritual, occult work does not make you more open to encountering these entities. It makes you more aware that they were already in your presence. Even in the life of those who are not that open to spiritual experiences, or do not have that interest in spiritual things. I have certainly done demonic exorcisms, so it's just wherever there's an entry. But the thing is that, with the negative entities, they have to seek a very subtle presence, because most of these entities do. They exist in a total other realm, right? But especially when it comes to negative entities, they have to kind of keep on the down low, because then if we know they're there, then we can ask them to leave. And because we hold that power, okay? So unless we give them the power and authority and do not stand in our authority, then, basically they can stick around as long as they want. But, if we stand in our authority, it doesn't matter what it is. We have complete authority to ask that entity to leave. So whether or not we're seeking spiritual experiences or not, these things are always in and out of our lives. They're just like bacteria or parasites or, illness. Some bacteria is good. If you think of the bacteria in the digestive system that helps us regulate the processes of the body, versus, the parasites, that are negative and, like leeches that suck up the blood out of the body, obviously there's a negative, right? Like you don't want a leech, stuck on you. So that's kind of, the nature of it. But let's see. So we do have to be discerning, obviously, about the spirits that we let into our life. Let's see, I'm just glancing through my notes to make sure if there's anything else I wanted to bring up. The spirits are always there anyway, whether we're conscious of them or not. It's really a matter of our choice of consciousness, because just like the demonic entity extractions that I've done, there are, or, negative thought form extractions, or the removal of negative past life entities or negative spirit guides, that sort of thing. It's really just a choice of whether or not we want to acknowledge the presence of those things, because, you know, if we possess any sort of negative energy that entity could come in and attach to, like a pain, a grief, depression, anxiety, nervousness, you know, anything like that, those are all things that those entities can go in and kind of latch onto. So even if we're not aware, you know, and they have to exist outside of our awareness. So even if we're not aware and we're not seeking those experiences to be spiritual or occult or something, they're still present. You know, they don't go away. They don't go away, I promise you. But, you know, there are many types of entities. They're not all negative. They're not all positive. A lot of it's just basically up to our own perception as to what that positive or negative is. And obviously, what I would consider negative is any kind of entity that would come in and try to control your will, right? Like, we don't want to lose control over our own experience. We want to be empowered and in control of our experience. So that would obviously be a negative. But they do always seek, you know, entities like to seek opportunities of, you know, that channel of persuasion or influence in our life. I have seen an entity step into somebody and try to join our conversation, like speaking through somebody. And, you know, I was like, oh my God, what do I say? Like, do I tell him? Do I tell the other people at this table that an entity just walked into somebody and started joining our conversation? You know, like, what do I do? But in any case, so that would be my take on that question. Will doing spiritual or occult work bring negative entities into my life? Is essentially no. They're always out there anyway. And basically, it's just a matter of us being consciously aware of their presence or not. So, you know, I could close my eyes and choose to ignore the world around me, or I could open my eyes and obviously engage with the world. Obviously, it's not positive or negative necessarily either way if somebody chooses to seek those spiritual or occult experiences that connect them with entities. But if somebody does decide to do that, then I would certainly suggest taking many precautions, being very kind of intuitively aware or energetically aware of your space. Also, if you need to, keep a journal of your progress in your practice and make sure that you are always in control. And never give your authority up to any entity. Never let an entity like push you in any unnecessary way. You know, I have on my website, actually, I have a kind of a spiritual safety and integrity blog post that I just did a couple weeks back. So this, I guess, kind of piggybacks on that. So if you want more details on that, you can visit my blog. But I'll definitely speak more in depth on some of the spiritual safety topics, more about entity attachment mechanisms, why and how those entities attach in various levels of our you know, dimensional aspects of our own energy bodies or our physical body level, those kinds of things. So protection, you know, spiritual protection, that kind of thing. But anyway, that's all for now. I hope that was helpful to somebody out there. I mean, this is kind of a start. I certainly have a very long list of topics and things that I would love to talk with you guys about, just so that you can be more aware, more enlightened, more indulged in these topics, because there's not a ton of really in-depth, good, juicy information out there. I feel like a lot of sources are kind of sketch, or a lot of things based on kind of questionable, you know, experiences and stuff. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I can get some more videos out for you guys very, very soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye.